Om Bhadram Karnebhih Shrunuyama Devaः Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraः Sthirairangaistuštuvagam sastanubhih Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuः Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we hear with our ears what is auspicious. May we see with our eyes what is auspicious. May we enjoy with strong limbs and body the life allotted to us. Om. Peace, peace, peace.
Swami Prabuddhananda, the General Secretary of the Ramakrishna Order, sent a cable in February 1970 informing Swami Shantasarupananda that Swami Prabuddhananda, then in charge of the Bangalore Ashrama, had been selected as Swami in charge. Swami Tradupananda, our assistant Swami, had met him in Bangalore in 1962 and told the board that he found him to be a very fine person, to be in his early 40s, intelligent, capable, and hardworking. And he himself was happy that the Swami had been selected for San Francisco. Earlier, Swami Ashokananda had expressed his hope that Swami Prabuddhananda would be appointed here, as he considered him to be a good choice. Swami arrived at the San Francisco airport on June 25, 1970, and was greeted by a host of smiling devotees and swamis, including Swami Shraddhananda, Swahananda, and Asaktananda, who happily ushered him to his waiting car. As Swami stepped into Mary Louise Burke Gargi's fancy Cadillac, he was about to begin his 44 years of dedicated service to God in San Francisco. He was 40 years old. During the first few months, Swami quietly observed the workings of the society, gave lectures and classes, and slowly became acquainted with the devotees. 6 months later, Swami Shantasarupananda left for India, and Swami took charge of the society. Almost immediately, Swami made appointments with the members of the society to get to know them better. He inaugurated a meeting of the workers for the celebrations to discuss suggestions for improvements in the work. The minutes for the meetings in early 1971 indicate that the society was beginning to buzz with activity. Even before Swami arrived, there was a plan for a women's retreat house. Before Swami Shantasarupananda left for India, he and Swami had studied the situation at Olema and concluded that now was the time for more intensive use of the property by members and friends. This became Swami's first big project. Discussions, meetings, and building plans began in full swing. The groundbreaking ceremony for the retreat house was in April 1971. Near the site, a small, quaint tent was put up where Swami offered worship to Sri Ramakrishna, Mother, and Swamiji. The devotees sat on the ground in the open meadow or on folding chairs. Swami ceremonially broke the ground with a digging fork, while Swami Swahananda looked on with curiosity. Others joined in by turns. The assembled devotees were delighted with the new Swami's enthusiasm. The day passed joyfully. The women's retreat house was designed and built with great care and attention. The architect's design was not only beautiful, but ideal for a retreat. On Lord Buddha's birthday in May 1972, the house was dedicated with much celebration. A tent was set up at the end of the porch to accommodate the devotees. 12 swamis from 9 centers in this country and Europe joined this auspicious occasion. On the festively decorated porch, worship was performed by Swami Aseshananda, assisted by Swami Asaktananda. Then, in a solemn procession, the Swamis chanting the Isha Upanishad slowly carried the 3 photos of Sri Ramakrishna, Mother, and Swamiji down the corridor to the meditation room where they installed them. Over 500 devotees attended this long-awaited program. This was the first of Swami's signal accomplishments. During the dedication, it was announced that we had acquired the historic Shafter Manor dating from 1869, just opposite the Olema Monastery. The Shafter House would become the men's retreat house. After extensive interior renovation, the house was dedicated in November 1975. Swami Vivekananda more than once voiced the opinion that there was a real need for ashramas in the U.S. He remarked, "What amount of good it would do to this country." Both Swami Ashokananda and Swami Prabuddhananda saw tremendous future for the Olema Retreat. So basic, they believed, is the life of contemplation for spiritual aspirants.
This is our retreat for spiritual practice. When you come here, we suggest let us shut off all other things, God and I. Let us have just that. Afterwards, we have all our responsibilities, problems, duties, people, friends, fine, they're all there. In fact, we are supposed to see God in everyone and in everything, all the time. But sometimes, every day, or when we come to the retreat, me and just God, without all, call it manifestation or coverings or whatever you may call that. So, our invitation to everyone who comes here is to practice that as much as one can, he or she can. This retreat was started for that purpose.
In 1976, we tussled with the Marin County authorities over property tax. The county wanted a public access for hikers by way of a trail through our property. We, of course, resisted this idea. The most adamant objector was Swami Aseshananda, who insisted that we not give in. He had had similar problems in Portland. While we were gathering petitions, attending hearings, and getting legal advice, Swami Aseshananda was chanting the Chandi. The Marin County Board of Supervisors had no idea what they were up against. One day, Swami Aseshananda came out of the women's retreat house meditation room and smilingly told Swami Prabuddhananda, "You see, I feel Mother has spoken to me. They too are my children." And then he said, build a nice trail for them. So the tables were turned and a nice trail was built for them. It seemed the issue was resolved miraculously. Around this time, the idea was afloat that we should use the retreat more. In many meetings, Swami would urge the members to avail themselves of this unique opportunity. He had already begun having small retreat programs there from one day to several days during the summer and at other times. In May 1977, we had our first 3-day May retreat. The first 2 days were held in the living room of the women's retreat house, and the main day in a rented tent. That year, only our local swamis participated, seated on a small, unadorned platform with a tape recorder perched on the edge. That November, the First Unitarian Church of Oakland invited the Berkeley Vedanta Society to commemorate Swami Vivekananda's talks given there in early 1900 by installing a photograph of Swamiji in the vestibule and a plaque on the side of the podium. This became a joint venture between the two societies, spearheaded by Swami Prabuddhananda. It was a grand occasion honoring Swami Vivekananda's momentous visit to Northern California. Swami Sarvagatananda of our Boston Center unveiled the photo and plaque. This occasion served another purpose as well. It introduced us to Reverend Arnold Crompton, the Unitarian minister at the time. The following year, 1978, he was the speaker for our first interfaith program at Olema. He would be followed over the years by speakers from all major religious traditions. Although everything started out small, the audience, the tent, the bookshop, and the decoration, we eventually expanded to accommodate an ever-increasing attendance. Swami was always at hand as a support for every program. In 2012, Swami gazed out the front door of the men's retreat house, remarking, "I've always seen the program from inside the tent. This is the first time I'm seeing it from outside the tent." From 1978 to 2014, the Memorial Day special program has grown in popularity and is deeply appreciated by the community. This interfaith program and the opening of the retreat houses to sincere seekers of any tradition have been two of Swami's significant contributions to the Vedanta Society as well as to the larger community. Swami, being from South India, where fruit trees bear generously, wanted to have an orchard. Through Pravrajaka Nirbhayaprana's tireless efforts, an orchard was started in 1979 and dedicated during the following May retreat. Beaming with pride, Swami himself helped plant one of the trees that day. The orchard became one of his favorite projects. He would visit the orchard almost weekly, taste the fruit when available, and generally keep track of production. During the Society's annual meeting in 1981, Responding to a question about the possibility of commercial use of the fruit, Swami replied, "Though Lord Krishna said that we should not hanker after fruits, in this case, this is just what we are doing, and we will use the fruit ourselves." The orchard still bears tons of fruit every year, which is distributed throughout the society. We have continued to fulfill Swami's wish of eating the fruit, not just counting the leaves. After establishing the annual May retreat, Swami introduced 2 other retreats, which he considered more concentrated: the Labor Day retreat and the Winter retreat. He felt these occasions were helpful to devotees for intensifying their spiritual practices.
Brahmanandi recommends, before you start a work, think of him, and then in the middle of the work, offer salutations to him, and then afterwards offer everything to him. Like that, let God consciousness come everywhere. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi. Every instrument is Brahman there. Your computer is Brahman, and then working is Brahman. Colleagues are Brahman. So that's developing that ideal more and more, more and more. Everyone I can think of Brahman. How can I think of my boss as Brahman? No, he also should be thought, no, my boss you don't know. These are the human side. Human side comes. Human side. Spiritual life means whole life. Every bit of life is spiritual. How to make every bit of our life, every moment of our life spiritual. Constant effort in that. Constant effort, wherever we are.
A unique occasion at Olema was the dedication of the Vivekananda Bridge in 1992. During the construction, Swami inspected the details thoroughly. When the bridge was dedicated, the railings were beautifully decorated and a large garland strung between them, which was ceremonially cut by Swami Prabuddhananda. The dedication was a significant event, if for no other reason than the creation of a new deity by Swami Prabuddhananda, Olemeshwara, the Lord of Olema. As Swami looked on with amusement, Swami Prabuddhananda delightfully tossed flowers and candy in all directions as offerings to the divine as Virat, the universal form of God. In 1975, as part of the celebration of the 75th anniversary of the Society, which was founded by Swami Vivekananda on April 14th, 1900, we made our initial group pilgrimage to Shanti Ashrama, which had been sanctified by the presence of Swamis Turiyananda and Trigunatita. Then, when Swami went to India in 1980 for a convention at the Order's headquarters at Bangalore Mutt, Swami Tapasyananda, a senior Swami, urged him to make an annual pilgrimage to this holy site, which Swami put in place of May that year. During the worship, devotees sat either in the meditation cabin or on the ground outside. The afternoon program was held near the creek, where the sacramental music group was accompanied by Swami Prabuddhananda on tabla. Talks were given from the podium, informally set up under the trees. The meditation cabin was in need of thorough renovation. So according to Swami's instructions, that fall, the brothers spent considerable time rebuilding the sacred building from the foundation up. At Swami's request, the following year in May, Swami Aseshananda dedicated the newly refurbished cabin. Since then, we have continued our yearly pilgrimage, and like our Memorial Day retreat, we started simply and expanded. Worship, meditation, singing, recounting the history, and walking up to Dooney Hill all have become part of the tradition. Swami thought that this pilgrimage, as he always preferred to call it, was invaluable for the way it brought us closer to these two great disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. Swami admired Swami Trigunatita, who was so instrumental in the foundation and growth of the society in its early years. He felt a detailed biography should be written about him. As a result, Swami Trigunatita, his life and work, was written by Sister Gargi and then published by the Vedanta Society. With great joy and satisfaction, Swami presented the book to the devotees during the program in 1997. Every year we return to this holy place to imbibe the tangible peace that gives the ashrama its name. Swami started yet another annual retreat in 1984, providing further opportunity for the devotees to remember God. This one in the summer at Lake Tahoe. Although the format was a little more relaxed than the other two intensive retreats, it nevertheless created a meditative mood and atmosphere up in the mountains on Shivagiri Road. Here the devotees could sit and talk with Swami on the porch overlooking the lake, or walk with him before noon meditation. Those who attended these retreats remarked on the tranquility of the ashrama and Swami's elevated mood. The classes were always insightful as well as practical. The devotees remember these retreats as being exceptional. Swami made sure our society celebrated landmark years that were associated with Swami Vivekananda. In addition to our 75th anniversary program in Shanti Ashrama, we also had a program at the Old Temple, where a history of the society from 1900 to 1975 was read. The concluding program was held the following May, 1976, and included Homa, talks, and music. Swami organized several programs in 1993-94 in honor of the Chicago World's Parliament of Religions. Swami Gahanananda, then General Secretary, was invited to participate in the groundbreaking ceremony for the new addition to our main temple. During one of the programs, 2 photograph albums of Swami Vivekananda were released by both of the Swamis. Later, these albums were published under the title Photographs of Swami Vivekananda. As part of the Parliament Centenary celebrations in 1994, Swami initiated a special event at Camp Taylor in Samuel Taylor Park, where Swamiji camped for 2 weeks in May 1900. The function was cleverly arranged to include 2 venues for programs going on simultaneously in both Camp Taylor and Olema. Devotees were bussed back and forth between them because of the restriction of having only 50 people at a time in the camp. At the campsite, there were guided tours with explanations and anecdotes about Swamiji's stay there. Swami Prabuddhananda, then General Secretary, was invited by Swami in 2000 to launch the year-long centenary celebrations of the Vedanta Society. These programs included a 5-speaker panel at the Interfaith program for Memorial Day, a special historical exhibit set up in the Sri Sarada Library at the New Temple, which included detailed photo displays of every aspect of the Society's rich history. Both the old and new temples, Berkeley, Sacramento, Olema, Lake Tahoe, Shanti Ashrama, rare letters, photographs, artifacts from the archives, and the cherished painting of the Madonna and Christ from Jadu Malik's Garden House in Kolkata. And finally, a concert by Ustad Ali Akbar Khan at the Palace of Fine Arts, as well as talks on Swami Vivekananda. Swami arranged for the Society to honor Swamiji's 150th birth anniversary in 2012-13 with year-long observances, the main one being a program at the Palace of Fine Arts dedicated to Swami Vivekananda, which included a panel discussion on yoga and the American quest for freedom, and a multimedia presentation, Freedom, the Song of the Soul, as well as a brochure on his life and teachings entitled Swami Vivekananda and His Universal Call. Swami prompted the creation of a fitting tribute to Swamiji at Vivekananda Grove in Olema. The grove was planted and dedicated in 1963 and further developed in 1969, but never completely finished. This year, with expanded enhancements, including the installation of a statue of Swamiji, the memorial was beautifully completed and dedicated on August 31st. Several other notable contributions Swami made to the Society include enlarging the bookshop in the book project outreach. For years, books were sold in the foyer near the secretary's desk. Swami wanted to enlarge the book sales department because he felt that in addition to lectures and classes, this was an effective way to disseminate Vedantic ideas. From a small selection of books, the bookshop has expanded to include a comprehensive selection of books from all the major religious traditions and contemporary spirituality. Another method of putting Vedanta on the map was offering a collection of Vedanta books to public and university libraries, primarily in the US and Canada. During this 22-year project, we contacted over 7,000 libraries and donated almost 14,000 titles. Swami also began involving the Society in interfaith programs and activities in the Bay Area, as well as meeting students from elementary schools to high schools and universities. Always interested in children as future Vedantins, Swami reinstated the Sunday school in 1974. It had been discontinued in the 60s. He also encouraged the children to have an annual drama as a way of absorbing spiritual ideas from different traditions. The first play was performed in 1980 as part of the May Retreat. In addition, Swami started a Sanskrit chanting class for convent members and other interested women devotees, and also introduced bhajan singing to the temple programs. He would always find some occasion to bring devotees together to celebrate and worship the divine. He even had an elevator dedication for the first elevator installed in the temple. Swami Prabuddhananda, once again the master of ceremonies, performed worship at a small altar set up in the elevator. Swami felt that there should always be something going on at the temple or at the retreat, that devotees' lives should be vibrant with spiritual associations. Once during a meeting with the convent, when Swami was expressing some elaborate scenario, one of the convent members said, a little too audibly, "Oh my God." Swami smiled and replied cheerfully, "God only here."
God is everywhere. God is everywhere in everyone. Is He in me? That's the first. Is He in me? Or am I in Him? Psychologically, it becomes a very important factor. Am I on God's side? Or the Vedanta, have I realized Him? Am I in touch with Him? God is everywhere in everything. Oh, it's fine. But am I in Him? That also becomes equally important for our practical life. Am I in God? Jesus loves me. Do I love Him? Do I reciprocate? The reciprocation becomes very, very important here. Otherwise, it's one-sided. It's all there. What's to be done? Especially in Vedanta, our self, in and through that, everything happens. It happens. So what more? Nothing more need be done. No, you have to know it. You have to know it, you realize that fact. Your experience is something else. You are not realizing that fact. Atma Anubhava. Has it become your experience? So am I in God really? That side is very important for us. Am I in God? All in God. Am I in God?
During these 44 years, Swami never spared himself. He never took a vacation or a retreat. In addition to all the constant activity of the society, he would spend hours in counseling, guiding, and instructing any sincere spiritual seeker who sought advice. He continually gave himself selflessly as his worship of God and others.
Swami Vivekananda says, keep the faculty of discrimination under your pillow, even when you go to bed. That means always. Otherwise, in this world, things are all mixed up. Externally or emotionally, all things are mixed up. Some true, some untrue. Some helpful, some not helpful. All these things are mixed up. So try to separate them. That makes the quality of life, What is true, what is not true, what is virtue, what is vice, what helps, what doesn't help. Swamiji adds one. Swamiji means you always Vivekananda. What makes you strong, what makes you weak. Separate. Do only things, whatever makes you strong, you do. Whatever makes you weak, reject. Because truth alone has strength. Untruth has no strength. It makes you weak. Don't do that. So Swamiji said weakness and fear. These are the two basic problems. All problems can be traced to these two. Weakness and fear. So try to attack them. So strength and fearlessness are the antidotes for that.
Perhaps the crowning glory of Swami's accomplishments was the new temple addition, which was a need that was long felt. The temple had become too small to accommodate the increasing number of devotees and activities. Swami had wanted a larger space to serve prasad, to have meetings and classes, as well as provide more working space for the office and a new library. The project, which began in March 1995, required major demolition of part of the existing building and garden area. Because of building restrictions in San Francisco, including earthquake retrofitting, detailed planning and excavation took considerable time. Swami would carefully review the plans, watch, inspect, encourage, inspire, and scold when things went awry. It was all for Sri Ramakrishna's worship, and it must be done as perfectly as possible. Over the new year, the addition named Swami Vivekananda Centenary Hall was elaborately dedicated, with many Swamis throughout the country participating. Swami Swahananda unveiled a large photograph of Swami Vivekananda, which now hangs in the Vivekananda Hall. Swami was relieved and happy that this enormous project had finally been completed and the existing interior space doubled. Always eager to have Sri Ramakrishna's service continue unabated, Swami requested an assistant Swami when his health began to fail in 2011. In January 2012, Swami Tattwamayananda arrived from Bangalore Mutt to assist in the San Francisco work. Somehow, summoning the necessary energy, Swami went to the airport to welcome him. Over the next few years, though frail, Swami continued to direct the society and meet devotees whenever possible. His last major contribution was to sanction the massive renovation of our historical old temple built by Swami Trigunatita in 1905. The renovation has begun. In every way, Swami's dedicated life of service was a perfect offering to Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, for whom he had special devotion.
Jananii Saradam Devim Ramakrishnan Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Sritva प्रणमामि